Imagine for a moment that you go out on a date with a girl who's very beautiful, very attractive. You've heard great things about her. But as soon as you get to the restaurant, she criticizes what you're wearing. Then, when you order a food, say you order a side of fries, and she starts to tell you about how unhealthy those fries are and how you really shouldn't be eating them. She then criticizes your table manners, says you put too much ketchup on your burger, and kind of goes off on that, like that, for the whole date. How likely are you to go out with that girl again? Not very likely. Now imagine you go on a date with another girl. This girl, also beautiful, also very attractive, you've heard great things about her, and she orders the same thing you do. And she tells you that you actually ordered her favorite dish. She compliments you on the tie you wore. She talks to you about your history, about where you both went to college, and you have an engaging conversation. How likely are you to ask that girl out again? Now you may be wondering, Andrew, isn't this channel about linguistics? And I say to you, yes it is. Let me explain why I'm talking about this. There are two main ways of dealing with language. One is called prescriptivism, and one is called descriptivism. Prescriptivism is used by English teachers, for instance. They have a list of rules that you need to follow when you speak English, when you write English, and they are darn well sure to make sure you follow those rules. There are also, unfortunately, some linguists who are prescriptivists. We'll get to that in a moment. Most linguists are what are called descriptivists, where what they're out to do is to find how a language works. They want to learn about it. They want to learn what's special about it. They want to know its flaws, because they're not really flaws, they're quirks. They want to know what makes it unique, what makes it special, its history. And they appreciate it. Now, some people who call themselves linguists aren't really out to do that. They study part of a language's history or part of a language's use, and then any time that it doesn't fall into their preconceived notions, they criticize it. A good representation of that that's going to be up and front for English speakers in the United States is thinking about people who speak African American Vernacular English, also called Black English or Ebonics. We're going to call it Black English for now. People who speak Black English say things differently than people who don't. For instance, the simple past in Black English is I had. Instead of saying I saw, they say I had seen. And to somebody who speaks other dialects of American English, that sounds unfinished. It sounds like they're going to say something else. But really that's just their simple past. That's the equivalent of I saw. It expresses a completed action, a general action, what have you. And people who hear that assume they're making grammatical errors, but they're not, because it's regular, because that's what they do. They have a rule and they follow that rule, but a lot of people aren't interested in learning about that because it doesn't fit their preconceived notions. Another good example is modern French. Nobody speaks the way your French teacher in high school tells you they did. There is an actual organization called l'Académie Française, the French Academy, where the people who run the organization call themselves Les Immortels, which means the immortals. If that isn't pompous, I don't know what is. And they were founded about 200 years ago to preserve the beauty of the French language. That's fine, except for the fact that they haven't really updated their grammar rules in that time. Can you imagine what it would be like if Americans were taught in school how to speak the way that George Washington spoke? That's what we're talking about here. That's what we're talking about. People who just refuse to change. It is actually illegal because of petitioning l'Académie Française to use the word hashtag in legal documents that you submit to court proceedings. That's a crime. You can get fined for it. If you refuse to pay that fine, you can go to jail. That's insane. And that's an extreme. But this is something that almost every culture has. Almost every culture has some preconceived notion of what language is. But that's not what linguists should be. Sure, people do make grammatical errors. They say things that aren't regular. They make mistakes. And that's one thing. But if you begin to notice a pattern, a regularity, that should make you curious. You should ask why that is. You should learn about it. You should want to learn about it. And it'll make you smarter. It'll make you know more. It'll make it so you don't look down on these people that society has always looked down upon for some unknown reason. And that's what I have to say to you. That's the difference between the two ways of looking at language. Thank you very much. Please like and subscribe.